Welcome to the Celebration of You. I'm your host, Holly Dowling. I'm thrilled to share with you incredible people from all over the world who are living and leading extraordinary lives. From overcoming immense adversity to discovering the secret sauce to leading with courage and grace. Their stories are going to bring you hope and inspiration. Now, let the stories begin. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Celebration of You. And as you know, I get pretty darn excited about the amazing guests that I get to have. And I always take a moment to thank. It's really important to thank all the listeners out there. If it wasn't for you and the amazing messages you send and the comments you leave, this show would not exist. And you continue to validate and affirm that hearing other people's incredible journeys and stories brings you hope. And not just for you, but for other people in your life. And so I always say many times that you need to be open to the serendipitous moments that can happen every day in this journey that we call life. And the person that I have been so excited and been waiting so long to celebrate, who's on the other end of this phone line that I'm about to introduce you to, is one of those people that the moment I met her in a city probably 10 to 12 years ago, and you meet somebody and you go, wow, there's something really spectacular and special about you. And you're about to experience somebody that I met through the gift of being a messenger of strengths around the world, who has been one of the most instrumental, successful women that I have to be inspired by, who has a journey that's going to blow your mind. So today I welcome the amazing, dear friend, Gina Valenti. Hi, Gina.
Hi, Holly. Wow. It's so exciting to be talking with you today.
Well, girlfriend, I have only been waiting. Remember when I sent you that note and I go, are you ready? Because I want to celebrate you.
Wow. And a gal likes to be celebrated. It's like I was thinking about it, just hearing you talk. It's like having your own personal fan club and cheerleader right there.
Well, okay, let's face it. I am your number one cheerleader, your number one fan club, except you have a lot of fans around the world. And think about the word. Okay, so first of all, everybody, I have to tell you. So Gina, you would never know by listening to her voice. 28 years in hospitality in the corporate world, starting her career. Well, we'll tell you about that in a moment, and working her way all the way up to an amazing executive leader. She was the vice president of brand hospitality for one of the world's largest hospitality brands. And I've just had the luxury of knowing you. But when we say the word celebrate, Gina, your career, your history, what you've done with brands has been to figure out how to make people feel celebrated. It's so apropos to what you've done, my love, your whole life in hospitality.
Mm-hmm. I like being on that side of the equation as well, because it's the people that I surround myself with that inspire me. So it is just so fun to be in a position all these years where I got to lift up these amazing leaders and team members that are doing fantastic work to what our purpose in the company I work for was to fill the earth with the light and warmth of hospitality. No better calling than that.
No, and you did. May I just say, as one of the recipients and somebody that got to experience this on multiple occasions, what you did is an anomaly. It's like no other. Never experienced in any corporate client anywhere in the world anything like what you've done. And you made it just, it's above the cutting edge. And just so people can know, just to brag on Gina for a minute, you created the very first comprehensive international owners recognition club for this brand, for the international channels, and for all kinds of international events. And just the work that goes into that. If people don't realize what goes on behind the scenes, may I just say, how did you not collapse, Gina? You just kept doing this over and over and over.
When you're in service of other people, it's not exhausting at all. It's exhilarating. When you're in service of, that is when it feels like everything's working perfectly. So it's not about, the weeds or, all that goes into it. It's more of what is the result going to be when you have this opportunity to serve others.
Oh, and boy, can I tell you some of those experiences. I remember you guys like completely shutting down SeaWorld. We had the whole place to ourselves. Like you have done things, and the experience, it is just about the experience from the moment you walk into one of the hotels to the moment you walk into an event that you were creating for the owners. It was always the tiny things that made such an amazing difference. So tell us, would you tell me, when I didn't even know I was going to ask you this, but as you reflect on this journey and all those opportunities to do what you love, what is probably one of your proudest moments, like top of mind right now? What's coming to mind as a proudest moment of what you did for all these years?
That is a really hard question because there are so many amazing experiences. But I think what came to mind, top of mind, was at Hampton several years ago. We created something called Ambassador U, where we took high performing general managers of our hotels and almost put them into this club or circle where we invested in them from development, and as a result, or in return, asked them to contribute back. And they contributed back in the form of mentors and coaches and workshop facilitators to their peers. So they then were ambassadors, internal ambassadors for the brand. It was an idea that sort of struck me after years of being a bit obsessed with, for many reasons, the brand Lululemon. But I saw how they really created loyalty in customers, and, sold more product because they created these community ambassadors. It wasn't about brand marketing and, print ads and things like that. It was about loyal, folks. And so taking the opportunity to take some insight from that and say, how do we build upon our internal culture movement, and leveraging the strengths and talents of these high performing general managers, seeing what they were up to in the world, and the way in which they contributed. And one year we had them present out to our CEO and some of our brand presidents about who they are and what they did and their contributions. And in that moment, watching them sort of take over, the future of the brand rests in their hands. And that lit me up. We don't have all the answers, when you're sitting around a boardroom table at corporate, but when you when you ignite the passion in the operators and leaders, that they are the future. And there's just so much possibility that can come out of that. And so the ambassadors, anytime I just even think of them or picture them, I just get a smile on my face to this day.
And I can hear the smile through the phone. And I'm smiling because having been a part of watching you be such an amazing advocate of bringing the strengths philosophy into so much of what you've done over the years with the brands and the owners, and then seeing how it all, when I think about what you did with Ambassador U and how many people I personally know that have gotten to be a part of that journey, and it's impacting lives far beyond, Gina, just the person that got to own it, right? That got to be that high-performing ambassador. It's like, and I hope everybody listening, it doesn't matter what organization or what industry you're in. Gina is, to me, the epitome. Oh, here I go, Gina. I'm telling you, this is what you're going to be doing, because I'm going to promote it right now. If you ever wanted to know what it takes to create the greatest culture in your organization, and it doesn't matter what you do, from accounting to IT to hospitality, this is the woman. Because what you've done, it's like no other. And so there you go. I told you before we interviewed, right? I have a feeling you're going to be doing this down the road at some point.
Well, it is my passion. It is my purpose. But you already said it, Holly. It starts with strengths. It goes back to the very foundation of a purpose. Purpose starts with strengths. You can't have a purpose until you understand what your strengths and your talents are. And, the Aristotle quote goes, where your strengths, where your talents intersect with the needs of the world, therein lies your purpose. And at the very core, it amazes me how many people cannot articulate their own strengths, their own talents.
Yeah.
And I grew up as an athlete. From the time I was 6 through college, I was a swimmer. I was always gifted with, coaches that were my early mentors and leaders who focused on my strengths my whole life. I had coaches that were focusing on my strengths, my mom who was focusing on my strengths. I brought home a D in Russian history in 7th grade. And my mom said, wow, I don't even understand that textbook. But look at your A in algebra. Let's focus on that.
She was doing exactly what we wish every parent could embrace, right?
And I didn't know it at the time, but it just then when you go out into the corporate world and, there's a little bit of a different vibe than what I grew up with. I grew up as a swimmer where my coaches were like honing my backstroke, my middle long distance freestyle. And, I was mediocre at flying breast and they didn't know there were certain things I had to do, but they weren't really that focused on it. So I just thought that was the way in which the world worked. And then you get out into the corporate world and you realize, oh, wait, that's not the way it worked. I realized 18-ish, 15-ish years ago that is truly the differentiator. If you want to activate your brand, if you want to activate your mission within a company, the first place to start is with the human capital and helping them, giving them the gift of themselves through helping them understand, appreciate, and articulate their strengths and their talents.
And then it has a viral impact and you can feel it when you're in a room, whether you're in one of the hotels and everybody serving you is just so on fire because they love what they're doing, to when you walk into one of your major events, the energy, it's electric, Gina. And I just am loving this. I did not know the story about when you came home with the grade card and the fact that your mother's natural propensity, which is, sadly, and I don't want to point fingers at any parents out there because I'm a parent, raised the kids. We immediately, right? Immediate focus is always to what's wrong and what do we need to fix rather than saying, okay, let's go focus on where the A's are. And I love that you just brought that up because that takes me back. That sounds like it was very monumental. Even though you didn't realize it, you were really influenced by a lot of people that saw your strengths growing up. Was there anything in your younger years outside of that was, would you say, is quite pivotal? And maybe it was as a young girl, maybe it was later in college, maybe it was after college when you started this 28-year career, but that you feel had a pivotal moment in your life that has a lot to do with who you are today? And maybe it was a good thing, maybe it was a adverse situation. Anything there?
I think it's just the village of support I was always surrounded with. So from the time I was little and had all these coaches by my side, we were in the pool every day. And then as we got older, as teenagers, it was twice a day. And in college, it was twice a day. But we were surrounded by team. We were surrounded by these coaches that all they wanted to do was bring out the best in you. And I'm not saying it was easy. Some of these guys were really hard on us, but in a way that was about growth. And so I think I learned that it's not all easy, especially being an athlete. It's being firm and fair, but with the intent of they want you to shine. And also this idea of like persistence always showed up for me. It was really, I used to carry around, and I should know it by heart, a Calvin Coolidge quote about persistence. But that, you just keep focus and being intentional about what you're driving towards, that really pays off. And it's really how I made the transition out of college into hospitality. Was persistence is what paid off, because in my early days of working in hotels, I really wanted to be part of this management training program. And all of the folks that were in charge of it at the time would kind of laugh at me. Here's this gal out of college that has never worked in a hotel before and all of a sudden wants to, be in a management training program. And they just sort of laugh. And I just I try to get indoors through if a door is locked, I try to go in through other places until I can get where I want to go. And that's sort of what I did when I started 28 and it'll be 29 years ago in September. And so I think the persistence and then just always feeling like I had a tribe of people that were cheering me on. I mean, I can visually remember I have my eyes closed and I can visualize swimming in a meet or what have you, turning my head to take a breath and seeing coaches and teammates waving me on. That was like their sign of go, go, go. And I feel like I've had that in the teams and leaders that I've gotten to work with throughout my career. I think that's what led to my success in my career is I was working for these amazing, visionary, supportive leaders.
I had the best visual as you just said that. Like my eyes are closed and picturing, I'm not a swimmer, but I could just visualize you looking up to take a breath. And that has been, you've always raved about the teams and the people, even the partners that you've gotten to work with, and all the thought partners. And you've worked with so many people around the world, right? And this is interesting because it kind of, Gina, takes us to, it's a perfect transition to what to me is one of the things that I look to you and go, I have to celebrate you, because in the midst of having an incredibly successful 28-year career, and people can look at you and go, wow, she's a senior executive leader in a huge global company, right? And especially a woman in today's world doing it. And you did what so many people secretly down deep inside get to that point of, I think I'm exhausted. Enough is enough, right? I don't know what I want, but I think I need a break. And I feel a little bit responsible for that. Not fully, but a little bit responsible when you came to one of the elite retreats and handpicked, curated. You have to be invited to these retreats that I host. And Gina came and met an incredible group of women. And all of a sudden I'm getting a text message from you going, well, I'm going to do it. Take us from there, Gina. What provoked this huge, big leap of faith that you just took at the end of April of 2018?
Right. So the last few years have been particularly challenging. I was traveling all over almost every week. I loved what I did. I absolutely loved. I had such passion for what I did. And almost more importantly, I had passion for who I was doing it with, my team, the folks that I served, our partners, our thought partners. I was also juggling two aging parents at the time. My mom was dealing with a pretty tumultuous battle of Alzheimer's, which had been a pretty crazy making journey, which is the topic for a whole other conversation, because I could talk for hours about all I learned through that journey.
Yes.
And she passed away a little bit over a year ago after this tumultuous fight with Alzheimer's. And then at the same time, my father, very independent, very sharp, very just the healthiest 90-plus-year-old you'd meet in a while. It really impacted him. And then the journey of my dad's aging and navigating that and just feeling pulled in a lot of directions. And I was just feeling anxious, having some anxiety, feeling a bit lost and exhausted. And yeah. I, went out of college directly into my first job in a hotel. So I left, college, and within a couple months was working in a hotel for the company I've been with. And other than taking a 2-week vacation here and there, I had never taken any time off. And so when I was with you and that fabulous group of women, I felt beyond tired. There was more of a mental exhaustion and a physical kind of anxiety. And I had been, people had encouraged me that, I had always thought that I would do this position until either they asked me to go away or until I was, 95 years old and finally forced to retire.
Yeah. You never thought about it ending any other way, right?
I really didn't.
Yeah.
And as I was talking, you had some amazing, just fascinating women at the retreat from all different professions and leadership roles, and just seeing how much we had in common and how much I could learn from them. But it was on the last morning over a cup of coffee.
Mm.
And one of the gals said, "You never had a gap year." Interestingly enough, I remember she was in the nursing field too.
Yes.
So
and I remember her name. Yes. And we know she's precious and brunette. We can picture her, right?
Yes. And she just looked at me, "You never had a gap year." And I went, "Oh, a gap year.
Yeah.
Interesting." And you had said to me, "What are you fearful of?" And between her saying gap year and you saying, "What are you fearful of?" it gave me some things to think about over the course of time. And I didn't want to walk away from something that was just had been such an amazing gift in my life, the people. But that was about last September. And then in April, I did have the opportunity to close the chapter with that journey, and closing in a way that I felt good about, sort of passing the torch on to others. And that was, I'm sorry for the dinging if you can hear that.
No, it sounds fine. You're great.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a good time to take a pause and just cocoon for a bit, because I was getting to the point where I felt so scattered that I didn't feel like I was being in service fully to anyone I was trying to serve. My team, the leaders that I served, my customers, and most importantly, to my family and friends. I felt that I was just sort of hanging on to all of it. And I wanted to do more than that. So I just felt like I needed to take a step back and just pause and kind of regenerate myself. And that's sort of where I'm at today.
And I just am sitting here smiling, as you can imagine, with my eyes closed, because out of the blue, I get a text from you and then an email that says, "Well, guess what? Ever since that retreat, I've been percolating and thinking." And I love how that word gap year, right? You'll never forget that from our dear, beautiful friend. And the fact that, Gina, this is why I feel your story is so powerful, because so many people, and this isn't just women, I think this is human beings, men and women, get to a point in life where we've been doing what we were supposed to do and what we should do. And you've climbed the ladder, you've done amazing work, right? And it's like, and on top of that, and I don't want anybody to miss this, because I think this is a propensity that's happening more and more and more in our culture today. And that is, people like us at our age are now taking care of our parents.
Yeah.
And you are taking care of, both parents and watching one, right? And that's a whole nother podcast. I mean, I think that can't even fathom what it's like to watch somebody you love so much, your parent, and battle Alzheimer's, right? I hear all kinds of things. So giving yourself permission to take a step, it's almost like, is it a step back or is it a step forward? As we were talking, out of fear and with faith, to take a time for you. And I think it's fascinating because so many people are afraid to do it, and you've done it, and you're like 4 months in. And I love that you said to me, you're like, I thought maybe I'd do some really great trips and go have some fun. And now I'm sitting here and I'm actually having time to get to know Gina again, right?
It's exactly. It's not, I thought it was going to be, I was going to cross off all these things off my bucket list, and I was going to go to India and do a yoga retreat, and I was going to travel all over the world and see all my friends who I've neglected. And just the idea of getting on a plane sounded exhausting. And I've just been sort of chilling. And I've been reading a lot, and I've been getting back in touch with figuring out what are my strengths, what are my passions. And I love how you frame fear to faith, because it's really easy to grip to fear, especially in the space of the unknown. And what I found is when I focus on my passions, when I focus on my strengths and my purpose, it is so much more empowering and joyful to live in faith. that it's all good. You know, my mom, I can hear her right now. She would always say when something would go awry, honey, it always works out for you. Don't worry, it always works out for you. And that's to me what going from fear to faith is having that faith, but grounded in being, I had the gift of really getting to know myself over the course of my career through the experiences, the opportunities, the leaders, the coaches, the self-awareness, and understanding what my strengths and what my passions are. And now I can't imagine a world of a working world of living where I'm not living into my strengths and contributing my strengths in places where I feel that they offer value and are appreciated.
I love the words you use. I love listening to you talk. And you know, it just occurred to me as I'm listening, there's such peace in your voice right now. And when you get to hear this, you will hear this amazing peace that I don't know I've heard in your voice, like until today. And I think this could be part of this pause as I breathe and say this, the time you're giving yourself permission to take time to pause and kind of recalibrate your world. And the other thing you're doing, Gina, and this is just hitting me right now, is I guess I'm a firm believer it's never too late to dream again. You're living that. It's never too late to dream again. Right?
Yeah. It is. And the space allows you to figure out what are your dreams, what are your hopes, what are your passions when you're going. And anyone that's, you know, working full time and probably managing a whole lot other outside of their working life with parents and kids and marriages and everything. I mean, you're so distracted by doing and going. Just having the moment to breathe and pause. I mean, and it's not actually as easy as I thought it was going to be because it's a big old reflection into who you are. But I have felt myself so much more grounded because I have the space and time to be more present and more mindful. And in the world of chaotic career life, it's real easy to stack things up so that you go from one thing to the other without just pausing and taking a breath. So this is a big pause that's been pretty insightful.
Well, and I love the fact that you used the word distractions a few times because I think we would both agree that it's easy to avoid things we need to actually focus on or work on or progress through when we keep ourselves really, really busy and we have lots of distractions. And I think like many people, we've all been there. I have too. And being in a corporate environment where you were so busy, it was so easy to just keep all those distractions keeping you busy. And now it's like, whoa, I'm getting to figure out who I am. And some of that's a challenge and some of that's joy going, wow, like, what do I do with all this time? That's what I loved when I first asked to talk to you. You're like, I had no idea what I was going to do with all this time. I thought I'd keep so busy. And now you're like, it's a pause. And I think it's our society, Gina. And I don't know that it's prevalent in every other culture, but in our society, people don't know how to pause, be present, and be mindful. That's work.
It completely is work. It's more challenging work than being going. And it is interesting to see other cultures that do build in mindfulness. I mean, I remember the first time I went to Italy. My father is Italian, and going back and feeling like, these are the land of my people, and they take afternoon siesta and they close down their businesses, and it's about family. It's about food. It's about, what's the hurry? For type A personalities, you're like, wait a minute, you're closed for the next 3 hours? I had shopping to do during this time.
And you're going to eat and drink for 3 hours and it's only 2.
And then there's a nap built in there somewhere. And there's something to be learned from cultures outside of our own. I was listening to Arianna Huffington speak about Thrive, and I had read her book, and she talks about how sleep is the new sexy. And one of the things that I've done in my pause is I've been sleeping. Like I don't get up at 4:30 in the morning anymore to work out before I go to work. I've been giving myself permission to, sleep a little bit more. And it's amazing what comes out of life when you're not sleep deprived all of the time, and just taking a little bit more self-care. And then the challenge is going to be, okay, how do you continue to balance that when you are in a career in a working world? Because I'll tell you, the classes I was taking at the gym at 5 a.m. are packed because these folks have commitment to their personal well-being before they dive into their working world. So how do you balance all that? I don't know how you crack that nut, but just knowing yourself and what you need to thrive, I think is really key.
And I'm going to add to that because I love that sleep is the new sexy. And you just said that for you, this is huge because the Gina I know, you would be up at 4. And when we were on the road together, you would be in your room when I saw you and you'd lost all this weight, I'm like, what are you doing? And you were doing that. What was that big something X?
Oh my God, that was years ago. I had a rule that no matter where in the world I was, I would work out every day. And so I don't know, I can't believe your memory, Holly. Your memory is amazing. Years ago, I bought P90X,
yes,
program. And I mean, I'd be in I remember being in a hotel room in Singapore, like doing, jumping jacks and doing all of these things with this crazy P90X. And the poor guests that were staying below my room, I can now only imagine. But yeah, I do have a rule where I work out every day. So I've had to figure out what that looks like depending upon, where I was when I was working. Because I had to put my oxygen mask on first. I found that I was a nicer leader, manager when I got my me time in the morning.
Right. And I'm just smiling because I can just picture you because you were like, I have fallen in love with this new workout program. And I remember, and then I said, is that how you've lost all this weight? You go, yeah. And then I gave up wine and I went, oh no. I go, I really don't want to give up wine. Crap.
I did. I'm a little obsessive compulsive. So when I do something, I'm like extremes on it. But yeah, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you remember that. That's quite embarrassing that we just started talking about that.
Okay, so go back to what you just said too about giving your permission to sleep. Okay, I have to tell you this, and I'm going to admit this to everybody listening, is that I'm one of those people that I love my mornings, right? I like to get up early because that's my Holly time. It's my spiritual time. It's my physical time. I love to be in the water if I can. That's my workout. And though, Gina, I have lately been saying, Holly, it's okay if you want to sleep a little longer. Like I'll lay there and feeling like I've got to get out of bed. And then I said to myself the other day, Gina, why? What are you in a hurry to go do? Sleep is so good. And for me, that was a really big deal to not sit there thinking, well, I need to be in the water by this time, so I'm having my quiet time by this time, right? The things that nurture my soul, I was putting myself on an obsessive schedule around. And so I laid in bed and I just stayed there. And if you've never done that for a while, I encourage everybody to do it. Give yourself permission to just lay in bed. And I don't know what that means to you. Maybe that's 6 or 7 or 8 o'clock, whatever that is. Maybe it's 11 o'clock. Just be present and be silent. It was amazing. Like, I got to tell you, I loved it.
It is amazing. And the hardest thing for us, and I don't know if this is a female thing, but giving ourselves permission to do it. I think that we get in our own way often. And when we give ourselves permission to do the things it's not even like the world is judging us. We're judging ourselves on it. And oh my goodness, is it decadent to lay here for another 30 minutes? I've noticed that for me, with just the little bit more sleep comes the better decisions, the grounded, thinking, just the ability to breathe a little bit more. But even this morning I did it. There was a class at the gym I wanted to take early this morning, and I didn't sleep well last night. And when the alarm went off, I was like, I gotta go. I gotta do it. And I went, okay, you're unemployed. Why are you in such a hurry?
Wait, that was just like the cherry on the Sunday. You're like laying there on a Monday morning. You're unemployed. Why are you in a hurry?
Yeah. I mean, but I really had to coach myself into that it was okay just to chill. You can go a little bit later. It's not like you're going to miss a day, but oh my word. I mean, seriously, there must be like a help book for this or something.
Well, wait, there's another whole series. We could create an app for this because what you just said, you probably were spent more time coaching yourself on why you could stay in bed. So you really never actually slept more because your mind was mind chatter and yet you still stayed there. And so, right. It's the fact that you did it. And what I'm working on is when I'm doing that, I'm learning a lot about meditation and breathing and just the importance of listening to our breath. And so when I'm laying there, I'll just intentionally use that time to be thinking about my breath and kind of get already reset in that. Even if it's not sleeping, it's just staying there and not moving and doing that.
100%. I think there is so much power there's a phrase I love, come back to your breath. There is so much power in that as an individual. I started doing yoga in 2001, and I swear it's what's gotten me through most airport TSA lines, immigration controls. I mean, you can practice yoga anywhere in the world, standing in line just by coming back to your breath. And really, it gets you back in touch with yourself. And we forget that.
It's so simple, and yet we overcomplicate things. Oh my gosh, I could stay on. We could keep going for like another 2 hours because for one, I just love talking to you and all the wisdom that just falls out of you. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, okay, as we wrap this up, and I don't want to end it, I just want to honor you because we might have to do, and I'll let the listeners decide, but a part 2, because I think there's so much more to be said here, my love. I have a question. And it's just burning on me right now. And I typically like to ask the guests, take me back. And I'm going to give you an option here. Take me back to your younger self, maybe your 22, 24-year-old self. And based on who you are today, Gina, and all the life experiences, what advice would you give that young woman? That's number 1. Or number 2, if somebody is listening and they are sitting right on the verge of in their own quiet, probably dark corner of their closet right now, listening to this and feeling they're right where you were this last year, and they're needing wisdom or advice on how do I take that step in faith out of fear. So you can answer both, or you can do one or the other. Boy, nobody ever gets options from me. You're very special.
I feel special. Holly, you always make me feel special. But what I've noticed about you is you make everyone feel special. It's your special gift to the world. And so I'm going to answer both questions. I'm going to start with the second one though, because when you're feeling alone and you're just sort of in a rut, the doldrums, the rut, I don't know where to go to next. I think that finding your village, finding those people that you can talk to, and they come, and if you're just open to listening, they can come from the most random places, but you don't have to do it alone. There are so many people in each of our circles that want to contribute, that want to help. And in fact, it was over a cup of coffee and a gal that I didn't know very well, but had been exposed to only over the course of a couple days at your conference, that said, you need a gap year. That was my, magic bell that sort of guided me. And then, having that own, every person deserves to have a cheerleader. You are a cheerleader, Holly, for so many people. And I think that we all have cheerleaders. We all have fans. We just don't always recognize it and tap into them, because there's nothing a cheerleader wants more than to see you succeed. So I think I just as lucky. There's a sign that hangs in my home that says I get by with a little help from my friends. And the only thing that I would amend to that is that I get by with a whole lot of help from my friends, because it's those people that I've surrounded myself that have shaped my journey. And the question about my younger self, I think I would steal my mama's words. We probably don't listen to our mamas when we're younger enough. And now in hindsight, just say, chill, honey. It's all going to work out. It's all going to work out the way it's supposed to.
I love the way you just said that. Just chill, honey. It's going to work out. It always does. And if you think that's so simple and yet so profound, because we overcomplicate everything and worry about everything. Oh.
Yeah, we do. And it goes back to your line, Holly, fear to faith.
Well, and it's again, everybody needs hope. And when we get to hear somebody like you, Gina, share your story, and anytime I've shared my story, I'm willing to pull back the layers of the onion now. Let's talk. Anytime we can reveal and share, we help others heal and we give people hope. And that is why, my love, I have been so excited to just have you here with me, to celebrate you. This is a journey you're on. So maybe part 2 is we wait 6 months and we see what happened after the almost first year of the gap year, right? And we get to have where is Gina now? Like a where's Waldo? Where is Gina? And I just want to say thank you. And speaking of celebrating, I'm just sitting here smiling because when I think about, again, be open to the doors that open. You never know who you're going to meet. As I sit here with this beautiful, beautiful woman who is a dear friend in my life, you wouldn't even be in my life if it wasn't for the opportunity for me to partner with Marcus Buckingham and have a dear friend and colleague in Charlotte. And so the people that we've been joined by, that we've gotten to meet, we wouldn't even be together today if it wasn't for all these amazing people that have brought us together. So I thank you, and I want to thank them for this great
I want to thank them for introducing you to me, because time with you and you in my life has just always been a blessing and a gift. And I am so grateful to all of you, but specifically, Holly, for you just having the faith and confidence in me.
Oh, it's just beginning. You realize this, right? Oh, get ready, everybody, because I've got a whole plan here. She's going to be helping everybody out there. So no matter what organization you're in and what industry, if you're ready to make a difference in your culture, this is the person. And I'm determined to get her doing this all over the world. So Gina, how would you like, this is going to happen. How would you like people to reach out to you? If they have any questions, they want to reach out to you to learn more about you or talk to you. Do you want them to email you or LinkedIn? What would you prefer? What works best for you?
Email's great. My email address is gina@gvalenti.com.
Perfect. I will have it in the post too, and in the blog, so everybody can reach out to you. And I just can't thank you enough. Thank you for being in my life.
Thank you, Holly.
I'm going to say it. I just love you to pieces, and get ready. Your world's about to be huge. I can feel it. Thank you for joining me for another awesome celebration of you. If you were inspired by this story, please share it with your family and friends and hashtag Your Story Matters. I'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment on iTunes. And absolutely, please come to my website, hollydowling.com. Leave a comment there too, and while you're there, pick up your free gift. Most importantly though, just remember that your life is a gift from God. What you do with it is your gift back.